Hello, wonderful listeners. This is Joanna Dos Santos from Mindful Counseling, also known as JDS Counseling. I am your counselor, therapist, psychoanalyst, as well as a life coach. And I'm here yet again, adding on another episode. And it took me a while to come up with this one, and only just recently I thought of talking about this because I feel like it is something that we might be taking for granted without realizing it. And the topic is appreciating and being grateful for what we have in life today. And what do I mean by that? If we think of our parents, our grandparents, maybe even great-grandparents for some of us who were able to meet those who are still here. I never had a chance to meet my great-grandparents, but I did spend a little time with my grandparents and, of course, parents. So what do I mean by appreciating and being grateful for what I have? As I heard somewhere on the radio, I don't know what station I was talking about, is things that we have today and things that we didn't have many, many years ago. And I'm just elaborating even further because I don't think we are aware, consciously aware, because we're always on the go, moving, running from point A to B, that we're not realizing that the one thing that actually we forget to be grateful for is life itself. To breathe, to be able to take a breath in, which is the source of life. And with that said, it goes further, such as technology that we have today, or light switches, or as silly as it sounds, sinks and toilets, air conditioning units, or central ACs. So as far as you want to take this, provoking the thoughts on the things that you do have today, as opposed to maybe what some of your ancestors did not have, and including life itself, and that we can appreciate it. We're always on a go. Whether it's more so today, maybe not, maybe I'm wrong, but to realize that regardless of our jobs, regardless of our families, our children, and everything that we do in life, we can sit for a moment and just acknowledge and appreciate that we are able to take a breath in this present moment. I did a meditation today for a group of individuals, and focusing just on that, focusing on the ability that we can breathe, that you are, that I am breathing in this present moment. And what does that breath do to us? And how we breathe, that's one of the other things that we have a tendency to take for granted. We don't even acknowledge for a moment of how we breathe, whether it's in the moments of anxiety, or in the moments of running, or in the moments of relaxation. Most of us have a tendency to not recognize that because we are just running. I noticed that a lot. I noticed that a lot at times with myself, at times with just those around me. That we become such thinkers, and at times even being so emotionally involved in things that we don't recognize how to find ways to appreciate just the present moment of what we have, and that we live not because of our work or because of life itself, but because we can breathe. And I don't know how you might take this episode and where your provoking thoughts may take you, because the purpose of some of these episodes is for not just me having this conversation, but to encourage you, the listeners, of how far do you want to take your thoughts in a sense of being aware, being mindful in the present moment. Even right now, wherever you are listening to this, driving, walking, running, sitting, lying down, how are you breathing? Is it difficult at times? Whether it provokes anxiety, maybe. But to appreciate the fact that you live, that you can take a breath that allows you to not only focus on that breath, but to also take another one. Because realistically speaking, and I speak like this with everyone around me, is if I don't take that breath, I will no longer be here. Now, this is just conclusively said. There's other ways of obviously approaching this, but we can sit here, whether it's for those who have gone through trauma, maybe some medical issues or other situations, and struggling for air, struggling to breathe. For some of us who are swimmers, and in that moment where, you didn't catch the right amount of breath and needing to gasp for air. Those moments and how quickly you appreciate it. So appreciating life itself, appreciating what you have, regardless of what someone else might have. That's another thing too. We have a tendency to compare ourselves to others. Maybe more so today because of the technology, which, yes, we can appreciate that we have it today as opposed to what the ancestors did not have. And in some ways there's positives to both and negatives to both. The ability to be able to connect with people with a press of a button as opposed to not necessarily in the past. So some of those things that we can look and notice that what we have today and appreciate in some ways because of what we or you didn't have. A car, a bicycle, roller skates, skateboards, boats, things as such. We don't have to necessarily compare ourselves to others and what they have. We can focus on what we have and whether or not that brings us happiness. Do we really need more? Do we really need more than the breath itself? Yes, there is the survival, the food, and the drink, and the basic needs that we need to have in order to be somewhat satisfied in life. But it all goes back into breath itself. Do we need 2, 3, 4, 5 cars or certain things in life in order to make us feel happy and fulfilled? Granted, some of those things, if we lose, at the end of the day, you still have that one thing that brought you here in the first place, and that is breath, the life itself. And we have a tendency not to see it or focus or at least acknowledge it, maybe in spare moments or maybe in this moment because I'm having this podcast. But to be able to recognize this on a daily basis, to notice whether or not you go to work or you go to a certain activity, yes, you can appreciate, or the car that you drive or what's in your refrigerator. Yes, we can appreciate those things. But if we never have those things, or if we ever lose those things, materialistic things, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, except the food and clothing, is that at the end of the day, you have your breath. And that breath can take us in many places. It can take us to particular situations. It can take us and allow us to speak, to take a breath, so that way we can allow words to come out that connect us with people. And that's something that we do not acknowledge as much today either. We're so busy with our phones and computers and this technology that, yes, I appreciate of having it, but that we forget about the human connections. Now, that might be another episode, but in this present moment, it's all about the ability to breathe. And what would it look like to not be able to breathe? We've all been in moments and situations where we hold our breath, whether it's underwater or in particular situations, and we know for a fact we cannot hold it for extremely long periods of time. Therefore, we need to take a breath in order to continue on. So to breathe is to live, and to live is to appreciate and to be grateful that we have what we have today, and that is life itself. So take this moment to just acknowledge this episode in a sense of your life and how important it is, and how important your breath is for you. At times it might feel exhausting. At times it might feel frustrating and sad, but there's times where it can feel exciting because it allows you to move forward. So acknowledge this moment. Acknowledge the moment that you can take care of yourself. And to take care of yourself is to acknowledge, to appreciate that you have this breath that lets you move forward today. Until next time, may you all be well and healthy.